Hey everybody, I'm John. I collect cards, and for this video, I'm going to run down the sets of the 1970s and my preference for them in order from number 10 to number 1. Um, so I'm going to dive right into it. It's Labor Day, actually, September 5th. Hope you're all doing well. So kicking things off at number 10, in other words, my least favorite set from the 1970s, is the 1974 top set. Here are a few card samples here. I'm going to run through a couple of samples for each set. I just think this set was, well, I don't want to use the word ugly, but it just was not, to me, it was just the least interesting set that they put out, that Topps put out in the whole decade of the 1970s. I don't know, the top, bottom, it just doesn't work for me, and it never has. It never has grown on me. This is just like a set that I can just forget about, and to the fact that they're, Dave Winfield and Dave Parker, are really the only rookies of note in the set. I mean, one's a Hall of Famer, one could very well still get in at some point through a Veterans Committee vote or whatever they call the Vets Committee now. But it's just a plain vanilla set in terms of design. And it never did it for me. So that's number 10 for me. I'll sort of put them a little bit off to the side here as I go. Number 9, my second least favorite set of the 1970s is, and some might find this kind of interesting because it was starting to be my formative years, getting into baseball, and it's the 1977 set. I was only 4 at the time, but I do vaguely remember, seeing baseball on TV, etc. at that point. But here are a few cards from this set. I think there's a lot of wasted space in this set. The image itself is pretty small, and the top part, I mean, it's fun, I guess, and kind of distinctive a little. I wouldn't call it distinctive. It's kind of fun, but I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. Never really has. I just think there's a lot of, like, the use of white space in this, I think, was not used well, or it just wasn't like, sometimes white space can really be taken advantage of, and you can really use it to your advantage. Not that I'm a designer by any means, but you can use it to your advantage basically to kind of, artfully communicate what you're trying to share in terms of an image and everything. And I just don't think it worked in this set. This little flag pennant thing, I know they, Topps sort of utilized this and a stripe from 79 and the script from 78 in that 70s little mini set they did a couple of years ago, which was kind of cool, I guess. As well as, I did not order that. I kind of wish I did. I think it came in with an auto in each box. But anyway, 1977 was just not my set overall. And again, not a great rookie set either. Andre Dawson, I think, is the big rookie from that set. Coming in number 8. So my 8th favorite set is this one, though. You give it a little extra points for trying. They tried, I think, really hard in this set, and you could tell that they were Topps was starting to kind of turn the page about it. And there's actually a very interesting video from, I can't remember there's a very well done, awesome, like, kind of documentary style video on the 1973 set by another content creator here on YouTube. His vintage is in his name. I apologize for not knowing the title or his username, but if you kind of search on YouTube 1973 Topps set, you'll probably find it. It's a really kind of in-depth look at the making of this set. So I think that this is when they really started to bring in some action photography into the set. In 72 they started doing it with the in-action cards. And maybe they were before that too, but like in 73, I think they really, try to take it to the next level. And so they had some successes, say with this card. Now, obviously, cameras, can only do so much at that point with the cameras they were using and the film they were using. That's an interesting shot. But then, sometimes a good idea kind of went bad. This is another interesting shot here, Freddie Patek. But, they're cutting the umpire's head off on this. If they zoomed in a little bit, I bet you they would have had a better shot overall, if Patek was a little bit more on this side of the image. As a result, I think it could have still been a nice shot, but a good idea. This is actually a pretty nice action shot, that almost something you'd see in today's Topps. In fact, I want to send this out to Gene Klein's. I have one TTM from him, and I'm going to probably send this out to him as well and get this signed. So I'm going to put this over on the side into my TTM pile. This is another pretty nice shot, nice posed shot actually. So they were turning a corner here, and the design itself was interesting in that, they brought this icon into play. It's a little bland. Some might say it's bland, but I think the use of this, means they had to like take it easy with this because they were kind of like, stretching a little bit with the little player icon. But then they got interesting with some other choices like this. I think this is a sort of infamous shot of Joe Lahoud from the mountain range of, I guess, spring training Arizona. But you might as well be at the Grand Canyon with a picture like that. You almost wish that Topps did a similar shot like this in this year's Heritage as a kind of like a, kind of a wink and nod kind of thing. It would have been kind of fun. And maybe they'll do that in high number, but I doubt it. But kind of a ridiculous shot there. And then this one, to me, is quite possibly one of the most unforgivable shots of the 1970s by Topps. This airbrush has got to be what was Topps thinking in this picture? They could have done any other picture of Greg Nettles, could have done a helmetless, hatless shot that they did so often back then, and yet they had to airbrush something like this to represent the Yankees. Are you kidding? This, to me, I am offended by this picture. Every time I see it, it just drives me nuts. So I'm just going to turn it over. And then there's this shot. It's like, it's an interesting photo, but to represent Willie Davis that year on his baseball card, getting, smoked by a pitch there, getting dusted, it's like, come on. I wish Topps had done a better choice or something like that. It's like unfair to Willie Davis. Interesting photo, but not for his baseball card. And then this one, that video I mentioned talks about a little bit at length. This actually is whatever the precursor to Photoshop was, I guess, literally splicing pictures out, because you could tell they're both wearing their road jerseys in this picture. And I actually couldn't tell you if this is at County Stadium or Oakland Coliseum, but this shot did not actually happen like this. So it's like, maybe in 1973, you don't really realize it at the time, but, so they were trying new things. So you give them credit for that. But overall, the set overall and the design is, it's 8th on my list. Let's find a nice picture. Actually, no, let's put Joe Lahoud on here as a reason for being number 8. Okay, number 7 on my list is, it's the most old school of the decade, and that would be 1970. And it's coming out of a era that is quite possibly their most plain vanilla of all their sets. 1968 and 69 were, 68 you had the burlap pattern, I guess, at least, but 69 for me is just not one. It's one of their weakest designs in their history, in my opinion. 70 isn't a ton better, but I think it's an improvement, and it's sort of like incremented a little bit to where the next year's set was in 1971, which is kind of groundbreaking, I think, and most people would argue. But some people would say 1970 is boring. I kind of like the gray borders on this. I think it's kind of distinctive, actually. Fleer tried it in the 80s on one set, didn't really work very well, I think, in that decade. But I think, from a vintage standpoint, I think this still kind of works when the photos are right. Like this Chuck Taylor shot's not bad right here. This Gail Hopkins shot's interesting expression on his face, but so maybe not quite the right choice. But it's and the script name is interesting. It's I guess you call it script, yeah. So the back is, I haven't really talked about the backs yet. These backs were not bad, classic vintage Topps, I guess you'd say. 73 was, we all know what that looks like. The vertical is interesting. 77, huge name. It's like, I don't know about that. There's something about the 77 set just doesn't ring with me. And 74's back just extends right to the back. To me, it just doesn't work. The signature on the back is like, whatever. Because I do like card backs when they kind of like, when they're good, I like them a lot. Anyway, back to 70 here. Like, this is an interesting shot here with the jacket, actually. That kind of works. Not a bad pose shot there. The flag in the background. But then, of course, they're still carrying through with at this stage with their hatless, like this guy and Dave Giusti of the Pirates. It's just like, really? You can't. I mean, they were up against it, I think, for people who were traded and whatnot. But it's just like, that could be a green screen for all I know, or a blue screen, or whatever it would be. It's like, is there actually clear blue sky behind him there at spring training, or is he like photographed somewhere else? It's like, I don't know. There are too many shots like that in that set. But overall, 70 has some hits to me, but I just didn't really share them there. Although I have a Rod Carew that got graded pretty nicely. That's a pretty nice picture from that set. Moving on, number 6. Number 6 out of the 70s to me is a set I remember very well and collected quite a bit as a kid. It was 1979. Here's Mike Schmidt. It's actually a pretty good card, so I have it in this. I probably won't submit it. It might come back in 8 if it did. It's got a little bit of a bubble on here somewhere, like a really tiny, like raised paper thing on here. But other than that, the card is pretty nice condition for here. It's off center though. But anyway, Mike Schmidt there. It's a nice one. And then a couple of others. You know, I think what the design with this, flaw to me with this, is having the Topps brand be so prominent on the front. And I think that was like across the whole decade, that might have been the only time they did that. And it's in a really big spot. You'd almost see like the position here or something. Here they have it just as part of the name line. A lot of off center just with the team name on the little banner here. Like you can see how the Cardinals is kind of just going right onto the top of that. Same thing with Lou Whitaker a little bit. Little off center with that. And the name off center on the space that it has. I grabbed some beaters for a lot of these cards, but the back was okay. I kind of liked the back of this. The stats were very readable. And some of the photography was pretty good. I mean, overall, it was a pretty okay set. Average, I'd say, in the long run now. Although, back in the day, it was, I would say of my core collecting years, 78 to 82 were really like the peak or the stretch where I really had a lot of cards. My brother and I did. 79 was probably actually my least favorite design of all of those 5. So we got our top 5 now. At number 5, some might put this at number 1 actually, and I only have one example to share because I just really haven't built up my share of this particular year yet as I've kind of got back in the hobby. But that's 1972. And I picked up this Billy Martin one at a local show once just because it's a fairly classic shot for those who know why. And if you don't know why, look at it a little more closely and you might be able to tell. Originality through the roof on this one, of course. This one gets a 10 for originality. So that's why it's at number 5 at the very least. What I'm not crazy about and never have liked about 72 is that they don't have the position on the front. To me, I always have liked the position on the front. Of course, the image window is unique. It's probably the most unique that they ever did since 59 with the porthole. A lot of folks, I think, in the hobby call this the psychedelic tombstone set, which is a really interesting name. I mean, it's original. There's no doubt about it. The back doesn't really thrill me that much. It's a little hard to read down here. This is a manager card, so it's not the best example. But, it's sort of a love it or hate it kind of set. And to be honest, the set has actually grown with me a little bit in recent years, and with last year's Heritage, I think it kind of, I've gained a bit of an appreciation for it to where it's up at number 5 in my list. Okay, so we've got the top 4, and I say that because I lean a little bit more toward cleaner looks that still have creativity to them. So like I like clean looks, but not like 69 clean, where it's just like there's nothing going on in that set for me, and there's too many hatless people. But we're at our top 4 now. I'll try to pick up the pace here a little bit, but this one has really grown on me to the point where it probably wasn't in the top 5 before, and it now has a distinct spot at number 4 for me, and that's 1976. If you've watched any of my videos, I thank you if you have, and I thank you for watching it this one this far, if you're still with me. I think these cards sign really well. I've done a lot of TTMs for this because I bought a lot of 76s and 74s with a few other years sprinkled in, and that's where a lot of these are coming from. But here's Chris Chambliss of the Yankees. Sort of put them up here a little bit. Mickey Rivers when he was with the Angels right before he came to the Yankees. They brought the icon back on this one. It's a little maybe too prominent, and they went, but they stretched it a little bit on this. But it's very colorful, I think, in a good way. But the image is, still paramount. Where it's like all this going on here is still like, to me, I'm still drawn to the player more. Which say, unlike 77, I'm almost drawn more to the team and player name and position more than the image, which is to me a problem. And maybe that's because it's on top, or I don't know what, but I just think these, and I've called this set the batting cage set. This is a classic example of that. There's some just really awesome photography in this set, actually. And that's one reason it's grown on me. Here's a nice shot of Rico Petrocelli here of the Red Sox at the batting cage. There's a classic shot of Pete Rose that I don't have that card, but of him at the batting cage. There's a cool shot of Joe Torre when he was near the end of his playing career with the Mets at the batting cage. It's a cool shot. This is actually kind of a cool action shot of Billy Williams. This might be his last playing era card, actually, with Oakland. I think it is. And the backs for these, these are actually the first cards I remember seeing. I think my dad actually picked up a few packs of 1976, actually, because I remember the bat and ball on the back as a little kid. And to be honest, I remember I guess I must have written on these because I remember seeing these back when I was a kid. Once my brother and I were collecting in earnest in 78, 79, 80, I found some of these cards around the house that had I was probably practicing numbers on them and stuff, which is kind of funny. Maybe 4 or 5 cards I found. So my dad probably bought one pack maybe one time, and maybe just for himself for all I know. But anyway, I like the 76 set. It's really grown on me. It's colorful. It's got some good action shots, and they sign really well as well. Not great for rookies. That's the one downside with that. Dennis Eckersley is really the only big rookie from that set. Okay, we got three to go. We'll see how quick I can knock these out here. I've got 17 minutes in the video. Number 3, a lot of people might have this. For these last 3, two of these last 3, a lot of people will have a number 1. And if you know me, you probably already know what my number 1 is. But number 3 for me is 1971. Just an iconic set with the black borders and the lowercase lettering. It's just a really cool time capsule kind of card because it really fits design cues and themes that you might see from that era in other avenues, not in sports card design. It's just a really neat set. And so here's Ron Santo. Here's my Bert Blyleven rookie. It's not in very good condition, and I'm probably not going to get it graded. It probably would grade no better than a 4, frankly, because the edges are not very good. But to me, that's my number 3 set. It's just a really bold design that works. The back photo is interesting to have that on there. They don't always render very well, and I wish they had more the full career stats on the back, but creative back as well. Although the number is hard to read, the card number is a big drawback on this because it's hard to read if you're collating and stuff. But just a really cool design, bold choice, and it's lived on in its I think impact in the hobby. Obviously, partly because of the challenge it is to put together a high quality set, but it's a distinctive set, no doubt. It stood the test of time. Number 2 for me is arguably maybe the best set of the decade in terms of design, rookies, etc. And you probably know what that is, and that is 1975. Here's my probably no better than a 3 Robin Yount rookie that I picked up in a lot. I think I got it in the same lot that I got my Steve Carlton rookie, actually. And Gaylord Perry rookie, which I've shared in another video. He had this in there too. I think what does it for me here, so there's not a lot of room for the image itself on this too, but I like how they have the position and just the variety of colors they have. I only have this one example because 75 I've not really built up either, but it's just the range of colors in terms of the combinations, I think is what has endured for making that set so popular and just so strong, in addition to the phenomenal rookie class in it. So 75, lots has been said about that. For me, it's number 2 of the decade. And number 1, that leaves us with 1978. This is my first set, so you probably knew all along this would be my favorite set, or I think it's the best set of the decade. just for one person's 2 cents. I just think the simplicity of it, where the image just dominates. I like the position up there, and the script. The script name is just so distinctive. It just it's like such a simple design cue, but it's unique, and like it was a uniquely created script for this. I remember reading that. So it's like for when like they had to. So like it'll be interesting this year when they finally have like Diamondbacks or who else in here? Like not Devil Rays and Rockies, etc. And then 2 Robin Young cards face to face there. That'll be interesting for this year's Topps Archives when that comes out, because I believe like they had to like custom font that and everything, and so it'll be cool to see that again in this year's archives. They haven't done it yet in the 1978 set for that, so that'll be cool to see. I'm looking forward when that comes out later this year. It's been delayed and delayed again, but that's just I just think it works. And then here's the back real quick. I like how the stats are very readable. The numbers, I wish the number was a little bigger, but it works because the contrast is very good in terms of being able to put the set together. And I kind of like this burnt orange main back. It's like really distinctive. And I don't think they really use it in another one. So anyway, there you have it. There's my top 10 1970 sets, in my opinion. If you want to comment, share your thoughts on your where you think the sets rank from the decade, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And if you'd like this video, I'd really appreciate that too. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.